Baklava is a rich, sweet pastry enjoyed by so many. And our great friend of the show, Paul Costandin, is here. I have to sing it. I can't even say it.
Costandin.
Costandin. He's back with us. We're excited to have him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. You've got a treat that I feel like I've eaten plenty of, but I've never made because it seems like it would be complicated.
It's not complicated, it's just, it takes a lot of patience. Working with phyllo dough, which is what baklava is made out of, can be painful, as a lot of bakers can attest to. So it takes patience, and you just have to, there's a soaking period where you pour the syrup over the baklava, and I'll show that to you at the end. So you have to be really good about not eating it immediately, which is hard to do when it smells as good as it does. So there's a few different types of baklava. There's the type I grew up with in a Greek family, which is made with honey, and there's a little bit of cinnamon and citrus. But then there's plenty of other types of baklava from around the Middle East and the Mediterranean, and what we're making today is Lebanese baklava, which is a little bit less sweet, and you can eat more of it, which is nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Any variation typically in the nuts that are used in the protein, or is it always walnut?
It's very commonly walnut, but you can use anything. We've made it with cashew, pistachio. I liked to make it with peanuts for a while, sort of an homage to Virginia with the peanuts. So
interesting.
You can do it with almost anything. You just have to make sure you like it a lot because there's only two major flavors in baklava: walnuts and sugar. So.
Okay, all right. So pick one that you really like.
Exactly. So to get started, we're going to make our sugar syrup first, and I've got a third of a cup of water and 3/4 of a cup of sugar just at a simmer on the stove, and we're going to add these two ingredients which you may not have seen before. We have rose water and orange blossom water, and these need to be used carefully because with a heavy hand they can be really overpowering. If you want
I did a little sniff test earlier, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like something this is going to come out wrong, but it feels like something I might like wipe the countertops down with, right? Not like, chemically, but that fresh citrus smell.
Absolutely. And so you have to be careful. A little goes a long way.
So what would these be, what are these used for? If you I mean, are they easy to get at the store? Is this an Amazon item or?
Amazon's going to be your best bet if you don't have a halal or Middle Eastern grocery store close to you.
Okay.
Luckily in Richmond, we do have a number of options. So you can find this pretty easily if you just sort of look around or search a halal market or a Middle Eastern market. You may find them in certain grocery stores. Whole Foods or Wegmans might have it, but it's not going to be everywhere. So
a little more of a specialty item.
This rose is amazing.
So we're going to put just a capful of each, maybe a little less.
So you're doing the orange blossom and the rose?
Yeah, and it's going to give it a really nice round floral flavor. And this is a syrup that in Lebanon is used in a lot of sweets. So we're just going to drop that in.
So does it taste sweet?
So the water itself doesn't taste sweet, but when obviously in the form of a syrup, it's going to be really, really sweet and really delicious. But like I said, a little goes a long way. So when you're making the syrup, you want to do it well in advance because you want to pour it on your pastry when it's cool, and that's going to be the best way. So I make this at home and just sort of keep it in the fridge for a number of uses.
And how long, once you make it, how long will it keep?
I've never had a situation where it's gone bad because I've used it quickly enough, but I'd say 2+ weeks and you want to get rid of it and make some fresh.
I think I got some on my upper lip because I'm just smelling rose, which is not bad.
Not a bad smell.
Trying to reconcile everything that's happening.
So when working with phyllo, the most important thing advice I can give is let it thaw. Let it come to room temperature. Don't try to break it apart beforehand because you're going to end up with shredded phyllo in your hands and you're going to be really, really frustrated.
So how does it come?
Got it.
So it's rolled up?
Yeah, so it's going to come in a package. I think I've got one down here. I've got it hidden away. Let's see.
It's like a the suspense.
Like Mary Poppins.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it comes like this, and you can find this in your freezer section. It's going to be near the puff pastry and some of those prepared desserts in your local grocer. Almost every grocer carries phyllo dough. Okay. You get 2 packs. Per box. You really only need one. Take out the pack you need, let it thaw in your refrigerator overnight, and put the pack back in your freezer until you need it again.
Gotcha.
And do we thaw it flat?
No.
Roll it first?
No, you're going to thaw it in as a roll, and then you're going to unroll it very carefully. And you're going to want to keep it covered throughout your prep process
because it dries out
so quickly.
Lickety split.
Yeah. So as you can see, this top layer already sort of dried out, so we're just going to get rid of that. I'm just gonna.
It's almost like paper at that point.
Exactly, it's like tissue paper. It really is. So I've started building a base, and I've got about 4 layers of phyllo, and I brush each layer with butter. You can use olive oil, you can use canola oil, but butter's going to give a lot of nice flavor to your pastry.
Just go ahead and say it, Paul. Butter's better.
Butter's better. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to brush lightly with butter.
Okay.
And then we're gonna build another layer. And you're gonna repeat this until you have about 5 to 6 layers. When I'm at home, I honestly, I don't count that often. I just sort of go until it feels
You
good.
can eyeball it. Yeah, sure.
Go until it
Okay,
feels
is this
good.
clarified or just melted?
It's a great question. So this is clarified, and the easiest way to achieve that at home is to put butter in a measuring cup, a Pyrex heat-safe measuring cup in your microwave, and melt it until the butter melts completely. The milk solids will separate to the bottom, and at the top you'll have just that clarified butter layer. And you can pour that off.
Is it important or is it just fancy?
I like it because I think it produces a more consistent pastry, and we only do it that way when we make this in the restaurant. At Natalie's Taste of Lebanon, we only make our baklava with clarified butter. But when I'm home, I make it with just a regular melted butter because it's easier.
Okay.
So now that you have 5 to 6 layers, we're going to take our walnuts, which are well chopped, and about 2/3 of a cup of sugar.
We have about 2.5 minutes, Paul, just so you know where we are.
Easy peasy. We're going to be done in just a second. So you're going to sprinkle in your layer of walnuts.
Is this where you might do cinnamon or orange peel?
Exactly. If you want some flavors in there, go ahead and add them at this stage. And then you're going to build up with another layer. And at this point, you would brush, and you would just continue that process.
Okay. It's like a lasagna.
Exactly. Luckily, I've done all this work for us.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, look at that magic.
Little TV magic. So now we're going to score.
So how many layers are in here?
I've got about 4 to 5 layers of walnuts in between, and they're very thin. So we need to score our pastry before baking it. And I just do a rough diamond pattern.
So you're cutting, you've assembled.
And I let it, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I let it chill for a second just because you'll tear that, it's like tissue paper, like you said. You'll just tear it apart.
And how long is a second when we're chilling?
It's probably about 5 to 10 minutes. The butter, clarified butter.
I always get impatient, so I have to ask these types of questions.
So we're just going to slice backwards.
You're not cutting all the way through, or are you?
I'm trying to get all the way to the bottom because you want it to be cut and scored when you go to pull out your pieces. And so I'm just working carefully, sort of holding it still with my fingers.
This is mesmerizing.
And how many pieces are we aiming for in here?
Let's see, 4 by 6, you'll end up with about 24 to 30.
Okay.
I think if my math is right.
Paul, now I'm going back to the question about the nuts. You're using walnuts. You can use anything you want. How about if you start doing a mixed bag in the recipe? What if I was like, I need walnut and pistachio?
That's fine. There's plenty of examples of that. It's really whatever your tastes are. So now that we've got it scored, we're going to go ahead and bake it for about 30 minutes at 350. You want golden brown. You want to see the pastry start to fluff up. And what you're going to end up with is something that looks a whole bunch like this.
Ooh.
Now we're going to, so pretend this is hot out of the oven.
Okay.
And I didn't just pull it out with my bare hand.
I just thought you had, invisible oven mitts.
They're a new invention.
Yeah.
So we're going to pour a syrup on. Now this is cool. It can be room temperature, but you don't want it to be hot because you want the pastry to absorb the syrup.
Oh, wow, that's quite a bit of syrup there.
It is, but you'd be surprised how much less this is than if you make Greek baklava.
Oh, okay.
My grandmother's baklava could rot teeth. I love it, but it was delicious. So this is what you have. And to be honest, baklava gets better by day 3.
Yeah.
Day 2, it's going to be delicious. Day 1, it's okay. Day 3, it really peaks, and it stays that way for about a week. You don't want to refrigerate it because it's going to get too tough to eat.
Okay. So you just put a cover on that, keep it out, let it do its thing. 3 days, you get to eat it. What was the honey? So we supplanted the honey with this simple syrup creation. Okay, that would be, so this is this recipe.
Yep.
That's awesome, Paul.
Thank you.
I think we could do that.
It's one of
think
those,
we could.
Once you see it made, it's so much easier than you would think it might be. It's just, you need to set aside 45 minutes or so, and then keep your kids from stealing it until it's ready.
And the most difficult part would be staying away from it, letting that syrup cure.
Not eating it on the way.
I rarely get to day 3, I can tell you that much.
Thank you. Chef Paul has left the recipe with us. We will post it on our show website by later today, WTVR.com/VTM. A delicious one. And Nikki D, is it safe to say that, this is one of the things you've probably had but not ever made? Have you ever made baklava?
I have never made baklava, but now I feel like I can kind of do it. I mean, I don't know if it would taste as good, and waiting the 3 days seems difficult, but we'll figure it out.